The Washington Post reports that President Trump is building a campaign that is dramatically greater than his 2016 operation. According to the Post, organizations associated with the campaign have raised and spent hundreds of millions of dollars. The campaign is also relying heavily on political consultants as the president looks to secure another 4 years in office. Michelle Lee covers money and influence in politics for the Washington Post. She's also one of the authors of that story and joins me now from Washington. Michelle, thank you so much for being with us. The numbers in your story are simply staggering when you look at these figures that you dug into. The Trump 2020 effort has raised $736 million so far. How significant is that number, and what is the campaign able to do with that money?
Thanks, Elaine. It really is very significant. Essentially, the president's campaign never stopped after he became president. He started raising money way earlier than any of his predecessors have. He started spending a lot more than any other president did. And by doing so, he's able to build this massive re-election infrastructure that no other president before him has enjoyed. He's already spent more than $500 million, the committees that are working for his campaign and for his re-election. And they're able to do everything from defining the message on the ground, running lots of ads way before the Democrats can. They can register voters, hire staff, run lots of ads online, and flood the airwaves. He just has a huge advantage right now over the Democrats.
So former White House press secretary Sean Spicer said that in 2016, quote, the Trump campaign working with the RNC was like a forced arranged marriage, end quote. What is that relationship like now heading into 2020?
They're really working in lockstep. If you think about where the Trump campaign and the RNC were in 2016, when he became the nominee, he really was the outsider candidate. It's really remarkable looking back at some of the quotes he said back then, which is that he was really proud of challenging the party, challenging the establishment, being the outsider who was going to drain the swamp. And then when the RNC came around to support him as a nominee because it had the national infrastructure, there was really a tension because the RNC, after all, is the party, is the establishment, and it was embracing the outsider candidate. Now they're working together already. I mean, you can see this by the ads that ran immediately after the House Democrats announced their impeachment inquiry. The RNC really unleashed its rapid response team. It was airing ads immediately on behalf of the president, flooding social media. The messaging, the advertising, the voter registration, all of that is happening together to help the president secure another term.
So that's the kind of work that these consultants are doing. Give us some context here on this figure. So Trump 2020 is now employing more than 200 political consultants. How does that compare to 2016, and how important is the work that these consultants are doing to the president's re-election efforts?
So back then, President Trump really prided himself in being the sole messenger, the sole candidate who was driving the entire operation. He said that consultants made money and they were really out to just raise money to make money. And now he has hundreds of people who are doing that work. I mean, the campaign told me that the president is still the person who defines the message. He's still the one who runs the show, but the political consultants are there to really try to manage the massive operation it's become. But they're helping him run ads, they're helping him define messages, test what really works best with his followers, who's responding the most, and at the same time they're helping drive business to their firms. The consultants don't take all the money into their own pockets. They often use that money to pay other vendors, but really what this shows you is that there's this entire industry that's working to help each other to help the president.
So Brad Parscale was chosen as the Trump campaign manager for 2020 after having no political experience prior to the 2016 election. What does that tell us, Michelle, about the Trump campaign's strategy in 2020?
It shows you that they really put a lot of trust in Brad Parscale. When they hired Brad, he was really a web developer in Texas, and he really had not much of an experience in this world. And now he's getting paid by 5 of the 6 committees that are supporting the president's re-election. He is the one calling the shots when it comes to the vendors they're hiring, the types of messaging they're getting out there, the ads they're running. The person who just 4 years ago barely, kind of fell into what he was doing really is leading the shop on behalf of the president.
And you've touched on this, but in 2016, the president ran as an outsider and criticized political elites. How much is this current operation a departure from that strategy back in 2016?
Well, just by the nature of him being an incumbent, it's hard to depart. It's hard to run as that outsider.
Right.
The campaign says that they're maintaining the insurgent feel, that language, and that atmosphere. But at the same time, he is a president of the United States, and a lot of the establishment vendors and consultants who had worked for his opponents in the primary campaign 4 years ago are now working for him. So that is his challenge now, to maintain that outsidery, drain the swamp feel while employing many of the people that he was trying to drain 4 years ago.
All right, Michelle Lee, it is a fascinating piece with some eye-popping figures. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us.
Thanks, Elaine.